It's been a while since we last spoke. I think it was probably just around the time the academy plans were announced. So let's start there. How's all that coming along?
Really good. We are awarding the contracts at the moment for the interior fit out and for the external cladding onto the existing buildings. It's been quite difficult clearing the site because we've had to negotiate with various different people to leave the site and wait for leases to end, etc. And that's all now pretty much completed, so we're all systems go. We're tight to make Cat 1, but we're confident that we can do it by next season.
But so you're pretty confident that it's going to go ahead as you originally planned?
Well, the planners have to make that decision. We think it's a marvellous project for the area, a marvellous project for the club. We can't really see a downside. We've got massive support so far from the residents. Of course, there are some people that are asking some questions, but I think it's fair to say that even those people are supportive of the scheme. So it's incredibly exciting for the club. It's the best catchment area, certainly in the country, for talent. Our under-16s, under-15s are the Premier League Cup champions. There's been a lot of noise around our youngsters. We're really, really hopeful that the work that we put in place 8 years ago is now coming to fruition with a group that are coming through. And of course, we've got Tyrick and Brandon, who are training regularly with the first team. Brandon, who's made his first team appearance. Aaron, who recently got sold to Manchester United. We think there's a much bigger production line, and that's what we're working on. And it's important as well to keep the pathways open for those players to get into the first team, and that's important too.
Yeah, you mentioned the first team. It's been a tough couple of months, would you say, first team wise, with all the injuries that we had, and then the transfer window?
Yeah, the injuries were difficult, but every club gets injuries. That's part and parcel of having a squad. So it was, as much as it was difficult, it was great to see some of the players come in. Connor getting his first goal, Gyro playing really well. Fantastic for him, because he's found it difficult to get his chance. I thought he stepped up and he was incredible. Martin, of course, deputised at right back and always does a fantastic job. And we managed to trickle points on the board. Actually, as people have come back, we've probably found it a little bit more difficult. Narrow losses, difficult ones, but some positive signs. Christian back on the score sheet, a lot of players coming back. We go into the next period with optimism.
I know the fans are always desperate for signings every transfer window, but do you think it made it feel like there was more of a desperation for signings than there was?
Every transfer window, people want people signed. They're typically the same people that will crucify you if you sign the wrong player 4 weeks later or they don't work out. Look, we know there's work to do on the squad, but we need to do it in a considered manner. Roy felt we needed more firepower, so we took Kent. We've got an option to buy him. Obviously, if we'd have bought him for 20 million or whatever, maybe that would have been a better PR story. But, he's still an excellent player. He's in the building. I think he'll be a big help going into the next 6 months. And I see no reason why we couldn't make that a permanent deal in the summer, if things go well for both parties. So, we managed to get that done. We were hopeful to do a little bit more in January. We had a bid accepted on an Italian striker, Kwame. Unfortunately, he had a cruciate injury the week after. It was outside the window that we'd agreed the deal, so they were still playing him. Then, of course, the Nathan Ferguson situation is well documented. Not by us. We don't tend to talk about these things, but since people have put it in the public domain, that was very unfortunate. The deal was all agreed, and then when he arrived during our medical, he had an issue that needed a long time resolving. Now it's impossible from our medical team that you'll see that player this season. Now the player's got 6 months to run on his contracts in January. We're still keen on that deal, and we're confident that we can make that happen. We think an awful lot of the player. We don't want to go to our second choices, and we don't want to sign players just for the sake of it because it gets a good PR story. Although we understand that giving people a lift, is important.
How does it work with when you decide to try and do transfers? So with Nathan Ferguson, that medical happened right at the end of January. So some fans would think if it had been done at the start of January, then you would have had more time to go to another option. Or do you get a better deal if you wait until later on? Or was it because you got injured at the end of December?
Every situation is different. Kenk, obviously, we did earlier in the window. Kurami, we had a bid accepted before. Of course, if you're prepared to pay any amount of money, then you can buy anybody whenever you want, probably. You know, that's not the situation we're in. We have to make our money work. I don't think that's the situation that many clubs are in. I think for a player that was 6 months left, the fee we agreed was a big fee. We didn't scrimp on the fee, but obviously there's a limit. I think the big error is that we just then go to a second choice. We identified Nathan as the player we wanted. It took a long, long time, you know, to negotiate that deal through January. We'd gone in for him in the summer as well. We felt he was the right answer for us. Yes, we've got other options, but we don't just want to go to the second or third option while the first option is still alive. We want to get the right players in for the future of the football club. We've got every faith in the squad that we've got. You know, the squad that we've got during January, before January, doing a great job. This is the second highest points total we've had in the league, I think, at this stage of the season. So we need to make sure that we bring quality in, not just numbers.
And are you looking at bringing younger players as well? Because the average age is fairly high.
Yes, I mean the average age of the squad is high. These stats are there to damn you, aren't they? You know, if that in itself is a solution, you know, if it was as simple as having a squad with an average age of 25 to do well in the Premier League, then everybody would have an average age of 25. You know, we are a little bit old on that stat, and that's something that we need to be mindful of course, because players do typically fall off in terms of performance. But it's not the be-all and end-all of everything. You know, although if you look at the January transfer window, Kwame and Nathan Ferguson, had we signed those two, they would have made a significant difference to our average age. So, of course, it's something we need to look at. We're very keen on some of the younger players we've got in the academy. We want to be careful that we don't block their pathways, because that's happened too often at this club as well. So we look at everything in the round. We try and make the right decisions for the football club long term. It's very easy to make mistakes in the transfer market.
Fans look at the money situation quite a lot. Obviously, we sold Aaron Wan-Bissaka for a lot of money last summer. So what you see people writing online a lot is, well, where has that money gone? But I guess, does it go towards previous years where you've made losses, or you're building an academy as well?
We borrowed some money previous to that for some of the other transfer business that we've done. I mean, if you remember, if you look at you know, we very rarely sell players. You know, this is the other thing. You know, we've kept our talent here to try and improve the quality of the squad. When we sold Aaron, we used it to pay down some debt. You know, everybody saw that we forward financed the last payment. We brought that forward. That's a very cheap form of financing. So we were paying 4.5% on some debt. We forward financed that at 2.5%. So we used the forward finance money to pay down the other money. But there was money available in January for the right solutions and the right players. And we need to get them right. You know, everybody needs to be on the same page on those transfers. As you said, they need to be the right age, have the right value appreciation in them, give us the right longevity, the right protection. I think all of the players that we've got at the football club are excellent players, and I think we wouldn't be here without the players that we've got. But we look back on the business that we've done in the past, and we look at maybe the age that we bought certain players. I think we had to do that to stay in the league at the time. And clearly, you know, it doesn't represent the long-term value sometimes that it would if you bought younger players and they were more successful. But when you buy younger players, there's more of a risk in getting them right.
You're on social media. How much does it hurt reading the comments, like the day after the transfer window? You must have got lots of comments online, tweeting you about stuff. Does it hurt you when you read things like bored out?
Listen, there's some stuff we all get on social media that is unbelievable. I mean, I don't know what people are thinking when they send it. But I understand people's feelings. You know, I understand that it's very, very important to people, this football club, and that feelings and emotions run deep, and that they've got their mates that support other clubs. But the long-term future of the club is what's at stake. You know, if I am in possession of all of the information, those people are not in possession of all the information. You know, I have to deal with things that I have to deal with, and I have to have a long-term view on what's right for the football club. You know, so, you know, we're in a great position financially. You know, we don't have any debt again now. We did have some debt before. We took on some third-party debt. You know, the shareholders have put money in, but it's, you know, doesn't constitute normal debt. We get to the summer. We're in good shape. You know, we've got things to do. We know that. I think it's time for everybody to stay positive. We need to stay focused. and we need to be realistic. We would have got 3 if things had gone according to plan. Well, 4 if you include Scott Banks, and he's a fantastic addition. An amazing young man with a great attitude and a great future ahead of him, I think. So, we continue to do the right things. We continue to invest in the academy. We've got great hopes, for those players. So it's all very well buying younger players from everywhere else, but what happens to our kids when they get blocked up and they can't get through and they can't get past? We just bought a 20-year-old in their position. So we've got to be mindful of that as well.
And are you looking for more investment in the club?
Yeah, it's no secret that we need to do a lot of things with this football club. So we're looking at how we fund that. We have a lot of people talking to us. Unfortunately, when people say sell up, that isn't quite as easy. I can assure people as a fan of the club that if there was somebody who wanted to use Crystal Palace as their plaything and get us to the Champions League, I would be the first one that would be encouraging that or getting out of the way. I said it from the beginning, this is not a project that was about me or Stephen or any of the guys that I brought in at the beginning. This is about the football club that I love. I want the football club to be better. And if somebody can come along and they can help us with that, then absolutely. I think you'll find that there are many football clubs in the Premier League that are looking for investment. We're also looking at various debt instruments that we can use that wouldn't risk the club to help us with various things. So that's a constant job that you've got going on, and come the summer, hopefully, we'll get to a point where that will come to fruition.
Roy's contract is up in the summer. Is there any kind of update on where you are with that?
Yes, we've presented a contract to Roy. We're talking to him about that. I think everybody's pretty focused on, the games, but yes, that's in discussions, and Roy has said himself in the press the other day he's very relaxed about it, so we're very relaxed about it. I think we'll get that done in the fullness of time.
And a man at the club, Dougie Freedman, a lot of focus is put on him from the fans because probably more than any director of football usually is, because he's a former player and a former manager. Because the fans don't see what he does, do you think he comes in for maybe unfair criticism online? Because if you don't sign a player, it looks like, well, he's not doing anything, but he's doing loads, he doesn't stop working.
I can tell you now, Dougie, his most important quality is he doesn't care what somebody's saying on social media about what he does or doesn't do. I can tell you there's no one at the football club that's working harder for the football club than Dougie Freedman. And sometimes the best job you do in that position is to keep the ones that aren't going to work out. Is the nose. It's easy to just give in and cave, and we sign some players just to keep everybody happy, but that's not going to give us the longevity that we want. Now, everything's a risk, but Dougie does the work. We do the work. We have to stay focused on the work, what we need to do with the constraints that we've got, with the money that we've got, with the players that we've got coming through, with the players that we've got in the squad, with the manager we've got. We have to work together to try and make sure that we get the right answers. There's no point bringing players that don't play. There's no point bringing players that don't get on the bench, because it just becomes a problem for us.
The building of the main stand, where are you at with that? Is it just haggling over a piece of land? Because you've got a lot of...
So we're negotiating with Sainsbury's. So we've put an offer into Sainsbury's for that land, and we're very close to agreeing the final Section 106, which are all the things around the ground with the council. It's something that we've got to do. It's a big piece of work. It requires a big piece of funding. I'm not saying it's easy, but I remain committed to it. It's the future of this football club. Hopefully we can get a deal with Sainsbury's. I think that it's in everybody's interests that we do. I mean, when I arrived in this football club, Sainsbury's were promising all sorts to build us a stadium and build us a new stand and all this kind of thing. We realised that environment's changed, but we would also ask them to be sensible about what is basically a car park and can only be used as a car park. I think we're making a reasonable offer, and I think it will improve the site for everybody. It's not a question of us just throwing money around willy-nilly. We need to be circumspect, but we're absolutely committed to making that project happen. We've got squad, we've got academy, and we've got stadium, and we're working on all 3 of them.
So we're coming up this summer to 10 years since you bought the club, since you took over at the club. How proud are you of what you've achieved?
Staying in this league is not easy. We are outside of the top 6. I think there's only Everton, us, Southampton and West Ham that are still in the league since we got promoted. That's it. Everybody else has been relegated. 2 clubs have come back, Burnley and Newcastle. So staying in the league is difficult. It creates a difficult backdrop against everything. And some fans could argue we should be more optimistic, and I would suggest that that's probably true, and we have been in periods. But I think sometimes that optimism and that keenness to do well quickly has led us into more long-term structural issues that we need to deal with. So we need a long-term plan for the football club. You know, there've been many short-term plans for this football club over the years, and it's ended in not a good situation. So we're redoubling our efforts. We're doubling down. We're making sure that we do the right things for the football club. We're getting more circumspect. We're determined to not make the mistakes that we've made in the past. There's a group of people, me as one of them, that work 24/7 for this football club. Football is an always-on kind of profession, and we continue to do that. We continue to try and make the best decisions, because just working hard in itself isn't enough. And we're going to carry on trying to move this club forward. We need to secure our position in the league, try and finish as high as possible, because it's worth a lot of money, the positions that we finish in the league. Make sure that we deal with the things that we need to deal with in the squad in the summer. Hopefully the academy will then be well on the way, and then revisit that, you know, the stadium. Hopefully we get a deal with Sainsbury's in the next few weeks or months. We can announce that and then move forward from there.